Have one of your officers involved in the shooting at 18th Avenue in Jackson?
They're saying it's a Phoenix officer.
There's no suspect information. There's no vehicle information.
It's a twisted, unsolved mystery.
The information was really sketchy.
Yeah, my officer saying he's 10-7. I think he's saying he's dead. There is an officer down. They believe it might be a suicide.
An investigation filled with strange circumstances.
We have a suicide that is staged to be or made to look like a homicide.
80 weapons missing here.
A homicide that has been staged to be a suicide. Or we have a homicide that we can't figure out exactly why or how things ended up how they ended up.
An uncracked case.
We got a lot of units headed that way.
With few concrete clues.
I want this entire area locked down. I don't want anything to move out or in.
The crime scene is etched in my memory.
And the decorated police sergeant at the center of it all, Sean Drenth, left behind loved ones, waiting and wondering.
I miss them. I love them.
Until they figure out who did this, there's a cop killer out there. There's a killer out there.
What happened last October in the moments before Sean was shot to death with his own gun?
I lose hope every day, and I surely never thought we'd be here all this time later not knowing.
Who pulled the trigger?
Is it possible that you've already talked to the killer?
Thanks for joining us for this ABC 15 Investigators Special, Death on Duty, the Sean Drenth Mystery. I'm Katie Rammel.
And I'm Steve Irvin. Tonight we're going to take you inside the case of the Phoenix police sergeant who was killed on duty nearly 1 year ago. You'll see surveillance video of his patrol car just moments before the crime and the actual crime scene photographs from the spot where he was killed on duty.
The ABC 15 investigators reviewed hundreds of pieces of evidence and hours of audio tapes related to the case. It's clear there are important pieces of evidence still missing from the scene. And tonight, for the first time, you're going to learn about the two clues that killer may have left behind.
And we begin with Lori Jane Gliha revealing new details in the final hours and minutes before Sean's mysterious death.
A gentle breeze brings a bit of calmness and peace to this place. But a tragic mystery still lingers here.
Couldn't go there at first.
This is where Diane Drenth lost her only son.
It's just hard to believe that any of it's real.
And Colleen Drenth,
I miss him. I love him.
lost her soulmate.
I wish he was here to help me through some of the things that I've had to deal with.
It's here where Sean Drenth was found dead. It's a tiny lot tucked behind a Department of Transportation building in downtown Phoenix. This is where officers would sometimes come to write police reports. On October 18th, 2010, just before 11 p.m., this is where another officer on his nightly patrol stumbled upon Sean's strangely parked patrol vehicle. Both front doors were open.
I got out and I screamed hello because I didn't want to startle the officer.
Sean had 12 years on the job and once earned a Medal of Valor for saving people from a burning building. He had just started a new position as sergeant in the South Mountain Precinct. Earlier that evening, he guided his squad through a police situation involving a man with a gun. Hours later, he was dead.
I started to approach to make sure that, he was alive and that he may have just passed out or something. I didn't even get past the front of the truck when I noticed the blood coming from what appeared to be the back of his head.
Shot in the head with his own shotgun.
My first impression, just looking at what I saw, I could see why the officers thought it was a suicide, because it looked like a suicide.
Homicide Detective Warren Brewer is the case agent in the death of Sean Drenth. Joe Knott is lead lieutenant.
Do you think this was a murder?
I don't know. I mean, it depends which day you ask me. And I think there is information to support either one.
The seasoned investigators have struggled for a year with the confusing clues left at the scene.
I can still see Sean lying there. I can still see his car over here. I can still see the different things laying on the ground.
Sean was a firearms instructor, and his colleagues say he was great at handling weapons. But at the scene, something completely uncharacteristic. 2 of his guns had been carelessly tossed on the ground.
The other gun
was off in the gravel.
Someone had thrown or dropped Sean's police weapon over a chain-link fence far from where his body lay.
I know they started searching clearly along the railroad tracks area, primarily because they figured, well, somebody would have left, they would have went over the fence perhaps.
And a gun Sean normally wore in his ankle holster was on the ground next to his body, a few yards away.
Right here.
This,
Detectives found a clue from that gun. Someone fired a bullet.
So it hit that and then went all the way back and hit that other.
Yeah, you can see the section of fence that's been repaired. They cut that out, and actually you can still see the hole.
More confusing clues dot the crime scene. Handcuffs, a cell phone, and a flashlight, all belonging to Sean, all on the ground near his body. And there was another complication.
There were lots of people there.
Yes.
Describe that.
Well, there were 50+ people in the scene.
The fact that the word suicide was mentioned and was already spreading, that this was an on-duty suicide versus a murder, I think we lost control.
Dozens of officers concerned for a fallen friend raced to the scene. They left footprints in the dirt lot and DNA.
We probably did lose some valuable pieces of evidence, but we can't dwell on that. We just got to go with what we have.
If this was a murder, could the killer have been blending in with the crowd the night Sean was killed?
Do you think some of your detectives have already spoken to the killer?
It's possible. You know how we don't know who the killer is.
Still ahead.
People from within the organization were calling and saying, hey, we heard that Sean was killed because of this investigation.
A possible motive for murder or something else?
Could that have been a motive for suicide? Could be.
And Sean's last call to his wife.
He called me around 10 o'clock that night. He's like, I'll probably be busy around 10:30. And
did he say what he was going to be doing at 10:30?
The plans he mentioned during their last phone call.
There are a ton of cameras in this area.
And for the first time, we'll show you images of Sean Drenth's patrol car captured on surveillance cameras in the moments before he died.